People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. Fridays equals Q&A days, and I'm always appreciative of your support. I'd like to highlight that point a bit more, and I'd like to once again, which I've been saying in every video, thank you very much for making me hit the milestone of 27,000 subscribers. You know, my goal is 30 before the end of the season, in the same way that Arsenal should be targeting top 4. So we're on course to do that. The work doesn't stop. But yeah, man, in short, you know, the Q&A gives me something to give back to you lot. It's a bit of interaction. It's simply put, answering your questions. So there's not too many questions today, but let's recap, man. Let's go over them. Let's go, man. Let's go. Live from Planet X. Big up yourself, man. You've been a supporter and someone I consider a friend for a long time now. Big up yourself down under. Hope you're doing safe. But you've said, and this happened a few weeks ago, I think. You said, DG, if you were the coach in the Benzema Vinícius Jr. incident, considering Benzema's presence in the dressing room and the questions over Zidane, what would you do in that situation? I hear what you're saying about the influence, especially because Zidane's future at Madrid with every win is sort of on a needle thread, and question marks over can he get them back to previous glory that he had with the numerous Champions Leagues. So I see why you might say, you know what, you get Benzema turns against you, you lose the players and things like that, and it could get long. I don't think that would be the case. I do think it's a factor certainly you've got to consider, but you've got to consider everything. Now, obviously, you know, first and foremost, if he was to sign with Benzema, I'm pretty sure regardless of if Benzema's got friends there or not, you would look at your coach a bit weird. Like, how are you letting a man put down another man? You should be the only coach, the only guy who says anything like that or anything like that. Other people, it might rub them up the other way. They might even turn on Benzema and they might start to not respect Zidane as a man. Now, obviously, Zidane is a cool guy in terms of how he deals with Benzema. He loves Benzema, you know. Obviously, a lot of things get said in the dressing room that at the heat of it, like, that's a common thing, you know. I can't lie. I say that all the time. Every Sunday is quite bad. But people probably say it about man as well. It's them sort of things there in professional football is quite common. If all of these things were picked up, we might ask ourselves, are these guys actually friends? Do these teammates actually like each other? Of course, it's not nice when it's picked up. Of course, it can be demoralising for Vinícius Jr. and his family and everybody seeing that. Of course, it can create envy and hate and friction between the two. Obviously, Mendy's the one he's saying it to, so it could get Mendy in a whole heap of things. Of course it can. Now, Benzema's a real guy. He knows that, you know, Vinícius Jr. is a good player. You know, he definitely shouldn't have got caught saying it, but he shouldn't have said that. You know, he might be hurting a young man's feelings. Benzema's been that young man with bare pressure on his shoulders. You know, he handled it quite well, but he moved to Real Madrid quite young after obviously being a young sharpshooter for Lyon. So he's been in similar situations, so he knows it's not easy. So he's probably not happy. You know, he's a senior man. He's supposed to be putting an arm around him like on a little bro thing, little bro, big bro. So Benzema's probably not happy with how he's conducted himself. For Zidane, you know, if I'm the coach, I'm considering I'm Benzema, like I mess with Benzema, you know. Admittedly, if it was someone I weren't fond of, it might be a bit harsher, but I'd pull Benzema aside, nip it in the bud, you know, say, Benzema, listen, I'm the one that says that. I call the players crap. You can say what you want off the field, but you can get into handbags, but don't be doing that and demoralising him. He's a young man, you know, a stern warning not to do them things there again and carry on. With Vinícius, I'll pull him aside. I'll say, listen, I don't care what the fans say. I don't care what your teammates say. Listen, I believe in you, kind of reassure him, and I'll tell him the only opinion that matters is mine. You know, I'm the one playing you. Do you want to play next game? Make sure you play better. And I'd say in a harsh way to him, you know, in a nice way, forget them comments, but what did you do wrong in that game? You know? Players and fans love you and hate you. Same way Benzema's onto you in this game is because he demands more from you. And if you did the right things that in the game where you know you could have done better, he might be looking at you a bit differently. So I'd say, listen, if you did the right things, you wouldn't have got that. But I'd reiterate that I believe in you and your abilities. Don't ever let you see your head drop. Remember, you know, if Benzema says that, if you see Benzema say that or whatever, which he didn't, stick it on, man. But the only opinion that matters is mine, because I'm the one picking the team. If I call you shit, then you take that on board. If I ask you, are you that crap, you're passing to the other team, you take that on board. You know, if I call you the best player in the world, you take that on board. And that's what you've got to do. And as a player, to be fair, Vinícius is young, but he's got to listen to, obviously, it's harsh. He's only got to listen to what Zidane feels. Obviously, when you're a young man, we've all been in teams. Like, I've seen men that haven't got strong personalities. Other people put them down. They're not themselves on the football field. They don't relish coming to training. They don't relish playing the games. They don't feel comfortable. And that starts to you know, go into their play. Like someone like Vinícius Jr., he can be frustrating, but you want him to try things and whatnot. If he stops trying things, he's not going to stand out. And also, because you're scared, you start making the wrong decisions. Extra touches where you don't need to. Thinking where you don't need to think. Not thinking where you do need to think. And that will harm you. But it's got to be water off a duck's back. And he's also got to remember that fundamentally, you're not friends. You're here, it's a crabs in a barrel. You're here for yourself, you know. You're all trying to win goals, win it for the team. But Benzema's trying to get as many trophies before his career is done. You should be trying to, you know, elevate to Brazil and all of these things. Obviously care about the collective, but remember, you're not friends. You're not there to be friends. You're there to win games. You know, that's what he's got to remember. It's tough for a young man, but that's what he's got to take in. My guy Dutty Does has shouted in with a question, people. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel if you want. Carnival antics if you want. Intellectual conversations. He's got it all. It's not going to let me... Is it going to let me show up the thing? I don't know if it's going to mess with, man, but... Yeah, check out Dutty Does, man, on YouTube. You know, D-U-T-T-Y... does, like the word does, like literally D-O-E-S. So check out him. But he's asked me thoughts on Arsenal's rigid playing style and compare it to last season's free flowing. Personally, I can't compare it, my dude. I can't put my finger on what's happened. I wouldn't say last season we were free throwing and cutting teams open. We've been actually quite dire, but it did feel that there was more chances created and more sort of things. I don't know if there's certain players not playing. I don't know what it is. You know, when I look at the Palace away, we ain't done that this year. Let me not lie, we have done that season. But the Palace away was a boppers. I would have thought, I'm not gonna say attacking play was a given, but I would have thought a lot of our problems prior to Arteta and still with Arteta was mainly defensively. He's patterned it defensively, but it was almost that, you know, we need a system that frees our attackers up, because it didn't matter about Ozil, about Mickey, about Bamian, about Laka. Under Emery, we couldn't find the thing that was banging that allowed these attacking players to be the attacking players. And I feel that's a question that Arteta needs to answer. I do think he's still playing with a handbrake. I don't think he he quite trusts the team defensively. That's why he obviously goes for free at the back. And I think with Partey, you know, I hope that with Partey, that sort of seatbelt that Partey can provide, that frees him up to be a bit more adventurous. But I can't put my finger on it. I just think a bulk of it comes from the players are underperforming. There's not a current attacking system or what we're like anything really there that suggests you're working on the training ground. And I just feel that Arteta has a handbrake up people. And it's a bit ironic, I might do a video on it, but people said they want their Arsenal back, they want to return to Arsenal and stuff. But many people, mainly my generation, those that are a bit younger, and obviously me and him are teammates, that he does the same team as me. People, again, it's older than my time, but 1-0 to the Arsenal, it doesn't come out of nowhere, you know. There was, you know, George Graham and all of those sort of things, you know. I'm not saying Arsenal's back in any capacity, but, you know, you might have been thinking of Arsene Wenger, it might be a George Graham, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think we need to improve it in an attacking sense, because one thing, the beauty about the Prem is you need to be on it, you know. Everyone can beat everybody fundamentally because people have a goal. People don't just sit back. When teams win, again, when there's an upset, it's not necessarily, you know, the small team's been penned in their own half. They've had one chance and they've scored. There is them opportunities and them sort of things happen. But 9 times out of 10, they're going for it. With all due respect to Leeds, Leeds didn't win. And I always use this example, like Leeds won, but Leeds versus Manchester City away from home, well, for City away from home at Ellen Road, second half. You know, what happened there? You had Pep begging for a point. You know, Aston Villa, okay, they you know, they're not going to win the league and things, and Liverpool and City are probably more likely to, but Aston Villa bought Liverpool 7-2. They didn't do that because they sat back and they had 7 opportunities. It was a crazy game, of course, but they had a goal. And I think Arsenal have to do that. For as much as we sit back, and I like how we're improving defensively and all these things, we've got to present a threat. You know, Man United away, I'm not going to say it was the most expansive football, but I saw the most sort of intent in getting in the box and trying to play that I've seen in a while. You know, Willian hitting the bar, you know, Lacazette missing that opportunity, which people are rubbing him out for because Lindelof had that. You know, Aubameyang, even in the second half, where we nicked the ball off some United man, he tried to wrap his right foot, it was terrible. Bukayo Saka over the bar with a header. You know, these are not, you know, we still had to rely on the penalty. We didn't score from open play. Not that I care because we won, but I saw a bit of elements of that, and we've got to improve at that and really try to cut teams open, try and find, the key word is balance. Arteta knows that. Hopefully he does anyways. So, yeah, my dude. Double S has asked, can we talk about why Arteta doesn't want to play Willian as a 10? I don't think he sees him as a 10. Obviously, I say that. I think he likes his adaptability. Second half against Sheffield United, you know, forgive me if I'm wrong, he went 10. Obviously, the false 9 experiment didn't work. If it worked, you know, man would have said it's the risk you take as a manager. If we beat City away from home, you know, and he played Willian as a false 9, man would have said he's a genius. He found a specialist solution for a role, etc. It's the roll of the dice. People question if you know what you're doing when you do that, you know, when it doesn't work for us. I think he likes Willian defensively because I think Willian will play right wing, because I do think Willian links up well. He isn't the worst of technical players. I do think he's going to predominantly stay on the right wing because, again, kind of going off last question, it's a bit of the handbrake thing for me. You know, you go 3 at the back, you've got Partey and El Nene, not taking anything away from Partey and El Nene, just what you'd expect them to do in a game like they did against United, breaking down man, pocketing the key players, the key attacking players. And you've got Willian, who's probably the best defensively out of all the wingers in our team. That's another handbrake. He's going to be like it's not a second right back, but another right back of such. So I think, I've been saying in hindsight, I think Willian was a defensive signing, but I think it also comes with the formation. Obviously, if we go 3-4-3, there is no space for a number 10 per se. You know, we'd have to go to a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, and I wouldn't mind El Nene and Partey, or for me Ceballos and Partey, or some sort of combination with Willian as a 10, really, because you can't play Ozil. You know, if it was me and so I'm a manager, I would have used Willian. I'm not the manager, apologies. I would have used Willian as a 10. I would have used Mesut Ozil as a 10. Smith Rowe, these sort of man, give you opportunities to show what you're on, and at least until January, because you can't bring anybody else in. And obviously there's other little options you could do in the side, but I just don't think he sees him as that. And I think the formation he's going with, you know, there's not a 10 per se, but I wouldn't mind Willian in the 10 spot, because it obviously frees up another wide position where you could get Pepe in terms of unpredictability. When Martinelli comes back, Martinelli on the left, Saka, apologies, on the right, Aubameyang through the middle. You know, Martinelli of course can be put in a number of combinations through the middle as well, in his own right. So it is what it is. Hopefully I've answered that question as good as I can. Thomas said, our last away win against a big six featured Santi Cazorla and Coquelin in a pivot. At Old Trafford we deployed the Partey El Nene pivot. What are the similarities and differences between the two? Well, I'd say Partey and El Nene are a bit more similar in playing style. Not obviously Partey has a lot more going forward than El Nene, but I think, you know, with that it was more of a special. You could more see it. I think with Partey and El Nene they kind of complement each other a bit well, because both can, less so El Nene, but both can be the defensive mid. Both can do the box to box. For El Nene, his passing isn't the best in the world, but it's underrated. You know, Partey is seen as next Vieira and things like that. And I think even with Vieira, I don't know why, but people forget. They talk about his physical qualities. They forget, and I'm not saying Partey's levels with Vieira, but highlighting the point, they forget the technical level. You know, people always talk about Vieira's tackling and fighting Roy Keane, apologies. What about the goal he scored against Liverpool, the neat 1-2? What about all them one? Vieira used to carry. Vieira was a bad boy, man. I can't lie. Big up Lampard, big up Gerrard, but Vieira is the best midfielder I've seen in the Premier League. He's going to be the best for me. Shout out all the midfielders, you know, there's all legends in the game and whatnot, but Vieira is slept on. And I think with that same degree, again, not comparing them, people forget Partey can pass the ball forward. You know, Partey, don't get it twisted, Partey's first job is to be that box-to-box ball winner, defensive mid, and he's box-to-box for me, ball winner, but if deployed at the base, in front of the back, break down play, recycle it, and shut up shop. But he's also got more technical abilities. You saw the shot he had for De Gea, you know, the one real quality shot out from out wide at Old Trafford against De Gea. Now it was a bit of a tame effort, it's that standard save, but the point, you know, Partey played some lovely passes, you know, he tried to venture forward, and also the game before that, you saw him getting vexed. You see him getting vexed that people are not passing to him. Now many defensive mids or box-to-box ball winners, as you would see in the league, they wouldn't care to say, boy, I'm not really confident on the ball anyways, and that's not really my job. You know, he wants it, so he's got a bit more quality. So I think him and El Nene, they're a bit more similar. With Santi and Coquelin, you knew Wagwan. Like, Santi is not the creator, but Santi's the one to dictate the tempo and create from deep. Coquelin, you know, make sure if Santi's pocket gets picked, you're there to back it, just go put out fires. You know, I miss Coquelele, man. I wouldn't mind a Coquelele in the squad as well, man. Just, you know, not to play 38 games, but just to shut out shop. Because, you know, it's the same logic I've said previously with Torreira, and I must admit I'm very biased to Coquelin. You know, he weren't the best of footballers, but he weren't the most rubbishes either. And, you know, it wasn't the biggest of figures and he used to put a foot in. And, you know, that's how I think I play. So I really like Coquelin, man. There's a lot of bias towards Coquelin. Return to the club, man. But, yeah, man, big up Coquelin. But that's what I would say, Tom, man. Anyways, moving away to the YouTube community tab where questions are asked. And thank you to everybody who asked within the deadline. It pains my heart, but I did see some didn't. Like, some really didn't listen to the deadline, so I'm not going to answer it. Apologies, people, but come on, man. Like, I can't answer it. Nicholas Fowler said, what's happening, DG? Who do you think has the higher potential in the game, Saka or Martinelli? It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think Saka's going to go far. You know me, I don't want to talk about man world class and all of these mad shouts and things like that. You know, I think they've both got all the potential in the world. I feel like I'm doing Saka dirty. And I think Saka is going to be a bad boy in whatever position he ends up in whatever in his own right. But there's just something about Martinelli, man, that you just think, yo, he's going to be a special player, you know. Hopefully he stays clear of injury. I know he's going through one now. Keeps developing, keeps this good attitude and his hunger. I just think Martinelli's going to, you know, I think Martinelli's destined for Barcelona, Real Madrid. Not that Saka can't play for them one day, but I think the big boys will swoop on this guy very soon, you know, when he keeps doing his thing. And I just hope we can win a league title or do something while he's here. I think Martinelli's going to be a special player, man, a very, very special player. So let's see, but I'd say Martinelli. And by the end of this, I'd say Saka. Mr. Adlib has said, who would you rather sign, Jonathan Davis or Vestashan? Hopefully I've said his name. I'd rather sign my guy Yari. You've also said, would Pochettino going to Manchester United scare you? Not in a sense of scared, because, I mean, why would I be scared? It's football at the end of the day, you know. I'd be excited to see it work in the same way I'm keen to see, you know, I relish competition. I know Arsenal aren't punching man up and winning the league, but I relish competition. And, you know, from a neutral, I'd be keen to see what he could do with obviously a better budget. Because I know a lot of people question the fact that he ain't won a trophy, and that's legitimate, you know. It's legitimate. I don't think you have to judge every manager by that. It's good, but you need to judge him on the principles. But he does need to win one of those. And I do think some of what Poch has done has been overstated, but 9 times out of 10, he's been a fantastic manager. He is a fantastic manager, and he is going to have a good future if he hasn't already in the game. I would like to see, you know, because a lot was said with Spurs and investing, and can they get a 1, 2, 3, 4 into a company. At the time, Dele Alli, he was moving mad. Kane, obviously, Son came to the club eventually. You know, what would Poch? Obviously, Poch got fired, but what would Poch do with a window like they've had now? You've got Bale. You know, arguably Spurs have got even more tools at their disposal now. I'd say in the last, I don't know, I'm not a Spurs fan, but in the last 5 years or so, I'd say that's probably the best market, purely because I've got a lot of friends that support Spurs, and I've got a friend called D who's very harsh on Spurs, you know, and this was the first window. He said, you know, I can't even get onto Levy. Brought in striker, brought in a midfielder, in Højbjerg, brought in a centre half, brought Bale back, and obviously brought a backup striker, and now it's just down to the manager, really and truly. So I wouldn't say it scares me. I'd be keen to see what happens, my guy, man. You've also said, how much money do you think we can make from the Deadwood in the squad? And none at the moment, because we've shown we can't move people on. But it depends who you class as Deadwood. Like, you'd have had to say some names, but I'm not too sure, my guy. Because Mustafi, unless you sell him in January, you know, you're not going to get a fee for him, really and truly. Socrates the same. You know, David Luiz isn't going to be sold as well. Kolasinac, maybe a 10, 15, a figure like that. Things like that. Depends what you're looking for, but yeah, man, good questions. Real has said, do you think Arteta will ever deploy a midfield three of Ceballos, Partey and El Nene? I think there'll be a game where he does it. I'm keen to see what it thinks, what happens. You know, I guess Ceballos would be free to be in attacking positions a bit more as well, technically. So I'd be keen to see what it would be, man. If it would be a flat midfield three or if it would be a pivot. But I do think that midfield combination would be played, you know, and like the others, you know, I do think he will play El Nene and Xhaka again, like he has done, or Partey and El Nene again, equally, you know, Ceballos and Partey, or Ceballos and El Nene, or Ceballos and Xhaka. I do think these pivots will be utilised and whatnot. So yeah. 1-1 has said, big up DG, thank you very much for being a consistent supporter. 1-1, you said, Holding or Louise? Difficult one. Holding more for the long term. I like, if I had to sell one tomorrow, I'd sell David Luiz. I actually don't mind David Luiz. I know he's made mistakes. I know, You know, he's not the guy that should be first choice. I know you're never 100% confident, but I do think at the moment, he's been in okay form. And he's had good periods at Arsenal. Obviously, we've seen David Luiz for what has been David Luiz throughout his career. But I'd rather Holding. I'd rather keep Holding. You said, what is the main area Arteta needs to improve in? For me personally, I would like to see us performing a bit better in an attacking sense, as I referred to in an earlier question. I think that, without a doubt, like attacking areas, what we offering as an attacking threat, because compared to the guys we've got, whether you believe Pepe's a madness or not, just of his skill set, if you're a fullback, you don't want to play against that. You don't want to play against Willian. Aubameyang's not scoring and he has to take personal responsibility. But you've got Aubameyang. Lacazette has not been the Lacazette we thought we was getting, but he's decent. You know, Saka can cause threats. Martinelli to come back as well, and I'm probably missing out, man. We definitely can cause a bit more problems or make people's jobs in-game a bit more harder than it has to be. You know, regardless, I'm not saying we've got the best attack in the world or in the league. Definitely we haven't, but I've seen worse teams pressure defenses a bit more, and I do think we're not playing anything close to our potential. So I'd say, without a doubt, for me personally, attacking sense. Mr. Adlib again has said, what will be your first Football Manager 21 game and any first signings you'll make? Arsenal. I'm gonna live stream that, you know. I'm gonna do my own. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna do my own personal save, because obviously I want to do my own personal save, and now I'm gonna do my own personal save, but my one with you. Like, don't know, man. I was thinking try and make it interactive. Obviously, you see me go. If you lot want, see me go through the season. You know, obviously the signings I wanna make will have targets, maybe little votes. Who should we go for? Who not? Who should go? Who not? I think it'll be quite fun. First signings, I can't get Jude Bellingham, unfortunately. I can't get Dani Almo, unfortunately. I can't get Hervites at all, because as well, they're normally the three pillars I try to get within the first 2-3 seasons. Szoboszlai's still there, so Szoboszlai probably be the first through the door, really. Szoboszlai, maybe Elise or Reading, just for my academy. I'd say that, really. Yeah, I'd say them two. The first job, if I'm Arsenal, apologies for yawning, if I'm Arsenal, is to move people on. So, yeah, man, that would be it first. Yeah, man, that would be it. Antonio said, how do you see Yunus Musa's development at Valencia, and what is his next step? Sorry, you said, what is your next step after this final Q&A? In relation to the latter bit of your question, you're just going to have to wait, but we're probably just going to move over to a more member sort of led format for the Q&As. Obviously, for those that are not members, we'll do things and we'll do things off the cuff and that, but more sort of, you know, I want that to be for the members and that. So I'd say that. And then in relation to Musa's development, fantastic. He's been called up to the thingy squad, the America side now, and he can play a friendly and still move back to England. So fantastic. He's been backed up. He's the first English player to score for, youngest to score for. He might even be the first English player to score for Valencia, or the youngest, or something like that. He's broken all hosts of stats, and you know, to be 17 years of age to score a La Liga goal, and in the fashion he did, and have made what couple of starts and now and played a number of appearances. His move is backed up and he's developing. You know, the best thing to do right now is to stay at Valencia. You know, you see what, you know, Ferran Torres and Solar, you know, and there's been previous, Juan Mata, you know, David Silva. Well, David Silva's gone there and honed his development, as has Villa. You know, you can develop at Valencia for a number of years and then move on. He knows this. Like, he knows the move back to the Prem. You know, any club he wants to play for, any sporting ambitions he has will come. But right now he's in a privileged position. Don't get it twisted. You know, he's earned it through sheer hard work and ability, but he's in a privileged position in the sense of how many 17, 18-year-olds can sit here and saying they have a shot of playing week in, week out of any team, Spain, England, or wherever. He can. So, you know, it's just down to him to keep his feet on the ground, keep developing, keep learning. The rest will take care of itself. Johan has said, how likely do you think it is that the rest of the season is played behind closed doors in England? I think there's a massive opportunity that happens, because, you know, we're still reacting to this COVID stuff. We've gone in lockdown. I've got small hope next year, you know, that we're back in the stadiums, or people are allowed to go back in the stadiums. But at the same time, I was saying by the end of the year, this year, we could be doing that. You know, I didn't even think COVID would be lasting this long. But, you know, I'm not a medical man, so I wasn't to know. So, who knows? I'd assume so. Omar has said, do you think we finally have found our midfield pair in Partey and El Nene, because they seem to complement each other well? I think it's definitely an option, but I do think, you know, we need to not draw conclusions, because what happens if that partnership gets teared open against Villa? A man's still going to say this. Do you get it? So we need to select it. While I agree, and for now, until they play poorly, it'd be the starter for me. We've just got to take it easy before we draw conclusions with things. I still don't think we have that balance in midfield or that perfect pairing. One thing's for sure is that it features Partey. Can we get in a creative 8 or a number 10 or someone that can do something with such? Jamie has said, do you see Arsenal challenging for titles, trophies within the next 3 years? And if you do, which ones? It's difficult, man. I mean, we're still challenging for trophies. Let's be serious. We've won the Community Shield. I know it's not really one to be gassing, but we've won the FA Cup a number of times in recent years, all while we're talking about us underperforming. So it all depends. If you sign the right players that Arteta needs, then you can challenge for everything. But until I see, you know, something to suggest we can go for a Champions League, you've got to qualify for that first, or a Premier League, you know, it's more of the same. So it all depends on the ambition of the board, my guy. You know, if they want to win stuff within the next 3 years, they very much can. If they bring players in, move people out, be very proactive in that quest. You know, do you get that vibe from Arsenal's board? Only you be able to tell yourself that, my guy Jamie. But nonetheless, great question. Joel said, if you could take one player from the so-called top 5, in brackets, United, Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Spurs, within the last decade to add to Arsenal, who are your picks? You're moving a bit mad within the last decade. What? It's a madness going all the way back. Ronaldo was Christian. Like when you say a decade, I think of 2000s. You know, I don't think we're in 2020 and then go back to 2010. Liverpool's a bit of a simple one, really. You know, Mane, Salah off the top of my head. Mane, Salah. You know, Luis Suarez, without a doubt, these sort of man there. United. United's a tough one. I want to say Cristiano Ronaldo, but when did that guy go to Real Madrid? It must have been 2010. When did Cristiano Ronaldo go to Real Madrid? When did you join Real Madrid, big man? 09. So I can't even use you. Top of my head, bro. That's a difficult. I'd probably say Rooney, you know. Because a prime Rooney's a madman. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to go beyond ability for this, but I'd probably say Rooney. 2010, was Rooney even still there, bro? In fact, yeah, I'm bugging out. Yeah, it was. Yeah, so Rooney thing, man. Rooney for City, between Company, Kevin De Bruyne, Fernandinho, Sergio Aguero, them sort of man there, really. Chelsea last decade, Eden Hazard for me. Spurs, Harry Kane. I think that's all of them, right? Yeah, I think that's all of them. The decade thing really messed me up there, my guy. But yeah, I'd say them. Or Son, in Spurs' thing. Diabolical said, based on what you've seen so far, what do you think the top 4 will be at the end of the season? You know me, I'm not a fan of drawing conclusions, but based on what I've seen, you know, nobody looks perfect, but I'd say Liverpool and City would still have enough to be there. I was about to say other clubs, but you know, Liverpool, City, I'd just say Liverpool. I'd still stick by my guns, man. I could sit here and say the big teams. I could sit here and say the teams that started the season wrong, and well, apologies. But I'd just say what I've seen so far, just Liverpool and City. I don't really feel confident in answering the rest of those, my guy, man. Went Moses said, do you think managers should be judged on the league and not Europe? As I feel you should be focusing more on the league more than Europe. You can probably tell I'm a United fan. Well, it's context, you know. Realistically, like, cool, Champions League, Man United aren't going to win it. All you need to do is give a good account of yourself, make sure you try and win games and play the best you can, and you never know where things can take you. I share you in that you should be, you want consistency over both, and there shouldn't be a drop-off. Like, you shouldn't do well in the league and, you know, you're going out in the group stages of champs, but I do think the league should take priority to a slight degree, unless it's a, you know, a thing where you're like Juventus or something, where I know the league, ironically, in Italy is different, but, you know, them and even in France, but you know, PSG and Juventus, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to dominate their own leagues, and the focus surely is what we're doing in the champs. So unless you're one of them teams there, I share your opinion. You know, it's 38 game period. You know, you've got to show some consistency over the league. Europe can save you. You know, if you was a thing where Oli, you know, he's doing atrocious and he somehow clings on to his job, he loses after losing against Istanbul, shout them before, but he finishes 9th, but somehow he wins Champions League, that might keep him his job, you know. But them sort of things there are very rare, very rare. So I agree with what you say, man. The league, it's not that I'd say the league should take priority, but I'm more looking at what you're doing over the league campaign, of course. Finally, Philip has said, Do you think Lacazette and Aubameyang will still be at Arsenal when the January transfer window closes? I'd be inclined to believe if one was to leave, definitely not Aubameyang because he signed a new deal. Not that people haven't moved after signing a new deal, but I think if someone was to leave, it'd be Lacazette. Definitely don't think Lacazette is going to leave in January. Who is going to buy him in January? Because, you know, his form's not amazing. I think if anything, his situation will be revised at the end of the season. So it is what it is in that regards, people. And with that, I think that ends the Q&A. It's been a fantastic Q&A. There's been a lot of diverse questions, people. Before you get out of here, if you haven't already, make sure you've hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Yeah, man, people, you know I'm out, man. Make sure you check out all my other content. You know, Saturday I don't think I'll be bringing out any content, so you have to check things, but you never know. Obviously Sunday we play Aston Villa. You know there's another watch along there, so make sure you've got your reminders there. Make sure you're checking the YouTube community tab. Make sure you're alert because you know you're gonna see watch alongs, you're gonna see reviews, and by the time you've probably finished this, you've probably noted another Deluded video you're gonna watch. So I know there's content for days. There's gonna be more content. Keep an eye out for new ones. You know, make sure you hit the like and subscribe stuff. On that note, it's always a pleasure. Stay safe. DG, I'm out.